This week, we're digging in to Vinegar Hill. We're taking another trip back in time, exploring the Brooklyn Navy Yard, powering down some seriously sweet nachos, and going behind the scenes with the city's best chocolatier. Plus, we take a ride on the T-Line. Then we're hitting the road, checking out some seriously heavy metal, where the past comes alive with a bird's eye view.
I am Jacques Torres, Toni on New York, start right now.
I'll take one of those. Thank you.
I'm walking around and feeling fine. The sun is shining in my face. Crossing the street, cars are passing by. Thinking how I love this place. Can you feel the wind in your hair?
Located between Dumbo's hipster haven and the Brooklyn Navy Yard, Vinegar Hill is on the verge of becoming the new it neighborhood in New York, with chic bistros and shops moving into this once industrial no man's land. But with its rough, worn cobblestone streets and abandoned train tracks, we suspect that the layers of time will tell the tale of a forgotten neighborhood.
Imagine, the American Revolution has just ended, and a brilliant man by the name of John Jackson buys 100 acres here on the waterfront in Brooklyn. Now, he spent $17,000 on this land. Less than 20 years later, he sold the 40 acres just behind me to create the Brooklyn Navy Yards for $40,000, made a nice little profit, started building homes in the area.
So how come the neighborhood is called Vinegar Hill?
Well, Jackson decided to name the neighborhood Vinegar Hill after the 1797 Battle of Vinegar Hill, which took place between the Irish and the British. Nothing to do with here. He thought that if he named it for Vinegar Hill, he'd be able to draw Irish immigrants to live in the neighborhood. He owned all the buildings, he owned some of the factories. His idea was, now he's got tenants to pay him rent and work in his factories. So it's got nothing to do with New York history at all. It's just a pure marketing ploy.
Now, when it comes to iconic food, Vinegar Hill holds a sweet spot in American nostalgia because there was one familiar treat that was produced right here. Originally called the Ice Cream Bar, Eskimo pie is as American as apple pie.
On the corner of Bridge and York Streets is a beautiful 1909 Beaux-Arts building with fantastic polychromatic terracotta. In this building from 1927 until 1966, we made Eskimo pies, and they're selling at a rate of 1 million bars a day in their heyday in the 1930s and 40s.
But if you want to check out the sweet side of the neighborhood today, then a quick walk down Water Street is where you will find arguably the best chocolate on the planet.
It's a good sign when ladies do that sound.
If you are serious about your bonbons, then you are probably very familiar with Jacques Torres chocolate. Everything here is made by hand, from the marzipan to the marshmallows. The former pastry chef of Le Cirque, Jacques' creations are edible works of art. He opened his first workshop right here in Brooklyn 10 years ago, when the area was less than hip. A pioneer in spirit, he built the space with his own 2 hands. After he gave the Toni On crew the full tour, it was time to taste.
So
That caramel is more salty than the caramel.
he has a little bit of salt, he has a little bit of rum, a little bit of butter.
I just got the rum.
And
I
the
just
butter
got
at the end,
butter.
exactly. So that's all, and you know, you
Salt,
get...
rum, butter, and chocolate.
And
Can
it's
you
layered.
coat me? Can you coat me in that?
Now, I have a
It's a
question for you.
staple.
We have port, or we have caramel and crisp. What do you think you will like better?
Well, I have to tell you, one of my first dates with my husband, it was all about chocolate.
Oh, I want to know.
cheese,
I want to know about the
and-
first date.
And port. So I'm going to have to go with the port.
Cheese, chocolate, cheese, and port.
Yes.
Your husband is good.
He is good.
Now,
He knows what he's doing.
Who made the chocolates on that first date?
I think he bought them from Jacques Torres.
There we go.
Considered a demigod in the world of sweets, Jacques could not be more down to earth. Mr. Chocolate, as he is known to friends and family, sells literally tons of it each year. And to think his confectionery inspiration is a man by the name of Frank C. Mars.
When I look at what they invent, starting from nothing, like the Snicker bar, which is, I think, the second candy sold in the world. The #1 candy sold in the world are actually M&M's. He take a little round piece of chocolates, put them in a coating pen, coat them with chocolates, and then I think the army asked him that. The army asked him to do a chocolate that will not melt when the Marines will be in places where it's hot. So you cannot make the chocolate not melting, but you can protect it from the heat by coating it in sugar. Sugar will not melt when it's warm. So he coat those chocolate with sugar.
Genius.
I find that amazing. I wish that I invent something like that. I mean, imagine, you know.
Vinegar Hill used to be off the radar for culinary adventure seekers until the Vinegar Hill House opened in 2008, a true destination for anyone seeking something savory, but it might not be within everybody's budget. So if you were looking for an alternative with a funky neighborhood vibe, then Pedro's is the place to be. Nachos, tacos, margaritas, and some seriously sizzling fajitas, Pedro's is the go-to hotspot when you crave caliente. Named after 2 streets in Vinegar Hill, John Jay grew up in the neighborhood, works with his mom, and treated the Toni on team to feast. What is the super nachos here at Pedro's?
It's actually a corn tortilla with ground beef, cheese, ground beef, and lettuce, pico de gallo, sour cream, and powdered Mexican cheese.
All right, I have to taste it. Super nachos, 3, 2, 1.
Delicious.
John also made me try the mixed fajitas. Chicken, steak, and shrimp, delicious. Then there was the Pedro's sampler with empanadas, flautas, and chimichangas, a cornucopia of deep-fried spicy goodness. But then it was time to test the dish that I consider to be almost as holy as the cannoli. I am a true fan of the taco. I know you have some hot sauce around here. What kind of tacos am I trying?
These are actually chicken tacos with pico de gallo, little cilantro, made in a sauteed sauce.
The taco gets a fist bump. All right. But there was one more thing on Pedro's menu that I simply had to sink my teeth into. What exactly are sweet nachos?
It's actually a flour tortilla cut up in pieces with caramel, chocolate syrup, whipped cream, and powdered sugar.
You were trying to mess up my diet, John, aren't you?
Absolutely. I'm gonna try it with you.
All right, good.
Just so you don't feel bad.
Thank you. Oh, one for the team. I like how you work.
Good, huh?
It's like part Zeppeli, part ice cream
Exactly.
sundae.
Exactly.
Dear Lord. Lord, help me, people. I'm trying to lose weight. What am I doing here? Now, you could have a margarita with your meal, but let's say it's Sunday morning and maybe you had a little too much fun the night before. Well, then you're going to want a michelada, the best hangover cure known to mankind. A cold beer with fresh lime and hot sauce served in a glass with a salted rim and copious amounts of cayenne.
Down the hatch.
That's good.
It's good. It's different, right?
Woo, it's hot. Coming up, we turn back time and visit the Brooklyn Navy Yard. We head underground in search of a sign and then get a bird's eye view of World War II. Well worth the road trip. But first, here's Megan with your pop-up New York quiz.
Tony, it's really impossible to miss this building behind me. But what exactly is it? A Mexican restaurant? A nightclub? Don't know? We've got the answers coming up next.